Ladies and gentlemen, Gabriel Custodian here from Watchman Privacy. This is an emergency broadcast. This was recorded the morning of September 11th, and it was within 24 hours of when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Now, separate from all of that, I had planned to speak to my current guest, Robert Malone, Dr. Robert Malone, one of the most prominent people I've ever had on this channel. You'll recognize him as one of the people speaking truth to power during COVID from his appearances on Joe Rogan, etc. Now, Dr. Malone came out of the gates talking about Charlie Kirk, who I didn't realize was a good friend of his. So I thought this was important to release this right away, lead to the conversation. He also Dr. Malone has some interesting suspicions about the details surrounding this assassination. And by the time I'm recording this, the perpetrator has not been caught. Even when they are, there's obviously going to be a whole story surrounding that. I was also surprised where this conversation went in terms of Dr. Malone applying some of his recent ideas in his book, Psywar, to Candace Owens and the sorts of things that Candace Owens is talking about these days. So this conversation went in all sorts of directions that I wasn't expecting it to, things that I have never heard him discuss on any other platform. And along the way, he still talks about a lot of his foundational story about what he suffered through during COVID, all the cancellations, what's currently going on with RFK, and his ideas of Psywar that he has published recently. So please buckle in. This is one of the wildest episodes that I've ever released, especially when we consider the timing. Let's get into it. Now, given the nature of the things we're talking about, including the fact that Malone was widely canceled during the COVID era, especially on big tech platforms, I want to give you, the listener, a quick tutorial on how you should be listening or viewing this. I am the creator of Watchman Privacy. Escape the technocracy, as the name suggests. We are leading the charge in terms of free dissemination of information, privacy, escaping big tech, all of these things. So these are things that we talk about all the time. We are a very censorship-resistant company, and we consult on cancel cultural proofing and all this sort of thing. So I want to give you a little heads up here. Now, a lot of you will be listening to this episode on YouTube, assuming that YouTube doesn't take it down. I've already had a strike, or a pre-strike actually, from Michael Yon talking about certain things pertaining to COVID. I've already gotten that strike. So we'll see what happens with the fate of this video, but you should not be listening to this on YouTube. Just in case you don't understand how this works, big tech are in lockstep with the government. They basically do what they're told. If you want to be listening to more free sections of the internet, you should be on, let's say, Rumble, or Odyssey, or BitChute, or even Substack, and even Twitter these days, which has improved these days, even though it is still a big tech platform. Ideally, you're on what I'll mention in a moment, but you can at least be off of YouTube and onto these other video platforms. Search for Watchman Privacy on any of those platforms, and you're going to find this show, so you can subscribe. And always get the actual episodes that come out, that are not censored, that are not deleted. But while you're at it, you should go to the next step. I see a lot of people, especially older people, who don't actually understand what podcasting is as a technology. You should not be listening to your podcast on YouTube or any of these other video platforms. You should have a dedicated podcasting app on your phone, and you should be listening to your episodes, downloading them when you're at home under Wi-Fi, and having an actual offline physical copy of that episode. That is podcast. That's the technology of podcasting, and it is spectacular. It is very censorship resistant. Couple caveats. Spotify is not included, okay? You should not be on, there's no reason whatsoever to be on Spotify. Get off of Spotify. Get off of Apple Podcasts. You should be on one of these independent podcast platforms. I like AntennaPod. AntennaPod is great for this kind of stuff, and in addition, they have some privacy features. They're not tracking a lot of your stuff like these other people. Spotify has censored shows, okay? That's not supposed to happen with true podcasting, so you should be on one of these independent platforms like AntennaPod, which you can go to your store and download AntennaPod. It's also available on your Graphene OS phone on F-Droid, and listen to all your podcasts there. You can subscribe to Watchman Privacy on your actual podcast player, such as AntennaPod. Beautifully censorship resistant. So just to give you a heads up, you should not be on YouTube. You shouldn't even be really on Rumble or Odyssey or Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You should be consuming podcasts as they were designed to be consumed on a platform such as AntennaPod on your phone. And as an added benefit, when you do subscribe to Watchman Privacy, you're going to be at the front lines, okay? A lot of people talk about the problems of privacy, the problems of censorship. We've solved the problems. We talk about these solutions all the time. Okay, you're not a victim. You have all the solutions at your disposal. We've written books. We've made tutorials. We've made videos. How to escape every aspect of surveillance and every aspect of censorship that you can find in the world today. So check us out, Watchman Privacy. Okay, on to the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased today to be joined by a person who a lot of you will be familiar with. He started off as a carpenter and a farmhand, became a well-credentialed physician, biochemist. He is credited for the first successful transfection of designed mRNA packaged within a liposomal nanoparticle. He spoke out during the COVID era. He was on Joe Rogan, Brett Weinstein. You probably heard him on there. He was consequently shut down on Twitter, LinkedIn, one of the great canceled men of the age, but he had the final say. He's got 1.3 million people following him on Twitter, great Substack, a lot of people following him on there. Videos, when they do survive on YouTube, get 2 million views a pop. So this is Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Malone, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
The honest truth is I'm pretty sad. I'm deeply disturbed by what has just taken place as we sit here on the 11th, September the 11th, a notable date, and the events of yesterday involving Charlie Kirk have really affected me. He was a personal friend. He had counseled me on matters of faith. He was everything that I celebrated and hoped for in the younger generations that are following. A great leader. I thought he was presidential material, and he's been taken from us. And the reactions are disturbing in many cases, and the evidence is still accumulating in terms of what went down. I'm increasingly concerned that this was not some radicalized lone wolf actor, but rather that this may have been an agent provocateur trying to light the match on the tensions that exist within the American body politic. Right?
I think that's a very reasonable hypothesis. And one of the things that we're going to discuss in this conversation is all of the psychological warfare that happened, right? The non-kinetic warfare that happens during the COVID era and even afterward. But this is very much a kinetic attack, so it's definitely very, very troubling. Let's though go back to a little bit of your story, Dr. Malone. I finished your excellent book, War: Enforcing the New World Order. I thought that was a very good reflection on what you encountered and what you dealt with over the last few years. And for the handful of people who don't really know your story, Dr. Malone, I wonder if you could just talk about, like, just looking back, what are some of the wild, the blatant things that happened to you for speaking out as you did about COVID and being a target of the system? What are some of the things for people who are maybe new to you that you dealt with in the last few years?
Well, one key thing that most people are unaware of is this is not my first rodeo in terms of speaking out about malfeasance and medical malfeasance. I destroyed my academic career a number of years ago by speaking out. I was running a gene therapy program focused on non-viral delivery and of course the vaccine as one indication, but spoke out at the advice of my mentor, the person training me in bioethics at University of Maryland. I was taking formal coursework there, who, when I told him about what I knew concerning the death of Jesse Gelsinger at the hands of Jim Wilson and his colleagues at University of Penn due to overdosing with an adenovirus vector for gene therapy, he told me that I had a moral obligation to speak out. And I knew at that moment that I was facing one of those crucial life dilemmas. Do I speak out about what I know, and damage or destroy my academic career and my federal funding prospects, et cetera? Or do I stay silent and just go along to get along, which is a decision that many made during COVID. And In fact, it did really lead to the destruction of my career as an academic. Many other things happened at the same time, a decline in federal funding, et cetera, but it was a contributing factor. And I became kind of persona non grata in the community that I'd developed over decades. But I survived. I adapted. I changed my career path from academic to focusing on advanced development, clinical research, uh, and in particular, because that was the door that opened, working with the Department of Defense in the newly emergent biodefense sector. This was right after the anthrax attacks and 9/11. So, not my first rodeo. Over the last 5 years, it's an amazing arc. Uh, it started in the very first week in January, I think January 4th, where I got a call from this CIA agent who was either, it's unclear now, I thought he was actually in Wuhan. He may have been en route to Wuhan, but he was there shortly after and alerted me that there was a novel coronavirus there that looked like it was a major public health threat and that I should activate my network of colleagues to uh, try to develop countermeasures for that emergent coronavirus risk.
All right, YouTube viewers, this is where I cut for about 12 minutes. You might say, well, why don't you leave it up? Well, YouTube is just going to take it down and then there's nothing. So you've been warned. You should not be on YouTube. You should be on one of these other platforms. So go ahead and go to Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Substack. Check your local podcast player for Watchman Privacy to get the missing 12 minutes here. He's going into some stuff that I know YouTube, or I'm pretty sure they're going to restrict this video if I don't cut it out. So I'm going to skip ahead about 10 minutes here and we will continue on. Thank you.
This whole narrative that I just did some small thing, it was absolutely radical transformation. And I was working in the top viral vector gene therapy lab in the world. There was no such thing as non-viral gene delivery at the time. All of that came off of my bench. This is just another promoted narrative to try to minimize my credentials.
Right. I should know better than just reading a line from Wikipedia, which is what that was.
Yeah, so Wikipedia has been actively engineered to delegitimize me, and has been for years. It keeps getting edited. It's gotten better over time, but it started off just as basically a recitation of my CV, and then it got weaponized, in particular by a character that has now been banned as an editor, but was revealed to be a sock puppet for MI6. So
Jeez.
that's that happened. And as we talked in the book, I was identified by DHS and Homeland Security as a spreader of misinformation and damningly a conservative. That I've been called an anti-vaxxer, and the truth is that if you look at the definition of anti-vaxxer in Merriam-Webster, it includes the clause that if you are someone who is against vaccine mandates, which I am, then you're an anti-vaxxer.
That's not charitable at all.
But the press has weaponized the term anti-vaxxer. I mean, to bring it back home, the corporate media has promoted hate. I am constantly bombarded with hate from corporate media, and it's all ramped up again with, in some cases, the same authors, like in Atlantic Monthly, writing hate pieces that are just rabid. Ever since Bobby Kennedy appointed me to the advisory committee on immunization practices, being notable, I was always perplexed. What happened after the Rogan podcast? where Rogan basically backed down to pressure. And the narrative at the time was Neil Young, and Neil Young blew a gasket, and then Joni Mitchell followed that they were going to pull their catalogs off of Spotify in protest to Spotify hosting Joe Rogan because he had hosted me. To which every millennial in the world basically said, "Who's Neil Young?" And the catalog went back on. Turned out Neil Young didn't actually even own the catalog. He'd sold it to some big Wall Street investment group. But the backstory that was revealed through congressional investigation had nothing to do with Neil Young. What really took place was that Coca Cola, which, by the way, has an incestuous relationship with the CDC, advocating that the CDC not criticize the use of sugar in beverage products and work to ensure that the WHO does not criticize it. This is all documented. It was actually Coca Cola that complained to the Global Agreement on Responsible Media, GARM, which is something that was created by the World Economic Forum. This is all documented. It's all not a conspiracy theory. Coca-Cola, as documented by the U.S. Congress in their report, Coca-Cola acted through GARM to get the Global Alliance to threaten Spotify that they would pull all advertising if they didn't do something about Rogan, consequent to the broadcast of Malone, which was the biggest Rogan broadcast up until recently, as I understand it, with Bobby and then with Donald Trump. It was huge. It broke the internet. I talked about Matthias Desmet's theories that are derived from Hannah Arendt's work post-World War II, having to do with the formation and behavior of crowds and totalitarianism. That went absolutely viral to such extent that Google was manually manipulating search results. It was an incredible time. And many have come to me and said that, expressed gratitude. As Rogan has repeatedly said, the amazing thing about all that was that everything that Malone said was true. But what is still not appreciated by the various senators that were attacking me 2 days ago is that, and others, and attacking me last week in Bobby's hearings, was that every single thing that I've talked about that they were criticizing me for is real. And I know that because, unlike them, I was actively interacting on a daily basis with frontline physicians from all over the world that were treating COVID and treating post-vaccine injury. So what I said was not random. It was a distillation of what I had heard, learned from, observed myself, and secondhand through physicians all over the world that were dealing with the propaganda and false information that was being promoted and pioneering the use of early treatment. So you asked for a quick synopsis, and then, of course, it like I said, it hasn't stopped. And the hate against me has just ramped up like crazy. I'm a friend of mine who runs a very large security company that provides security for the likes of Jeff Bezos. He did Bezos's wedding security, for example. His comment to me the other day is that you and Bobby are public enemy number one right now. So this hasn't stopped. It hasn't even slowed down. If you want an example of what this kind of weaponized promoted hate can do, look at the reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Plenty of people celebrating it.
Precisely. It's sick, and it's promoted crazy. And who is, what is driving this crazy? Well, there's no question that there's a coordinated effort, because we have the documentation from the bioindustry group. There's a coordinated effort to take Bobby Kennedy out. And for some reason, they've decided that I am closely affiliated with Bobby. There are many people that are much closer to Bobby and interact with him on a more regular basis than I do. But I consider him a friend and I support him actively. And for some reason, the press has decided that they are going to whip up hate around me. They basically have developed a two-dimensional character of me. It's like a cartoon that they then attack and incite others to attack. It's sick. It's how the media does its business. It's part of why corporate media is dying. My wife calls it dead media. It's not dead yet. It's kind of like the character in Princess Bride, almost dead. Keeps getting revived, but that's, if I sound a little bit angry, it's because I'm more than a little bit angry, and I'm pretty angry about this effort to take out what is the most important grassroots movement since the Tea Party, the Make America Healthy Again movement, that is bipartisan, which, by the way, threatens the midterms for the Democrats, which deeply threatens a number of very large corporate interests. Pharma is just one. Big ag, big petrochemicals, processed foods, etc. Some of the biggest financial interests in the world are all threatened by the Make America Healthy Again movement, which simply seeks to make America healthy again. Just like the Make America Great movement has sought to reinvigorate patriotism in American politics and been vilified and called fascists and everything else for merely promoting nationalism and patriotism in the United States. This is the face of modern information warfare, where marketing and war have merged. And modern information warfare, as described in the book, has been integrated into the marketing practices of these large corporations, particularly the pharmaceutical industry. And we neglect to appreciate that at our own risk.
Well, look, I appreciate you explaining all that. That was immensely useful. There's obviously a million questions we could follow up on, but let's just focus on one thing for the moment, which you talk about the whipping up of hate. And I think if people were seeing an accurate view of reality, they would not be so angry with Charlie Kirk. They would not be so angry with you. But there's something else going on here. And this is a big thing that you tackle in your book. And you even said this on the Joe Rogan podcast, where you talk about fifth generation warfare. You talk about a coordinated media warfare, the level of which we have never seen before. And you've also talked about mass formation psychosis, these sorts of things. You discussed the Facebook files, the YouTube files, the Amazon files. There's blatant censorship going on with the things that people are saying, including yours. But it's more than that. And I think this is a very interesting part, because you talk, for example, about a Twitter account in your book. You talk about this Twitter account with a ton of followers. Now, if somebody has 100,000 followers, people start believing that that person is real and that that person is saying real things. But you talk about how this person was basically posting 2 to 3 hit pieces on you, mixed in with other content on a daily basis for years. And this person, it turns out, was despite defining himself as an independent journalist, was potentially working for another third party.
Yeah, somebody has tracked his brother down to being employed at the NIH.
Interesting. So tell me about that. There's a whole level of warfare that people are not understanding, Dr. Malone, when they check their social media and they see there's some Twitter account or somebody else on some social media platform that's saying, "Hey, they're just it's very malicious, very deceptive things that they're posting. These are not genuine. These are maybe not even humans in some cases, and these are certainly not good faith actors. And these do influence people." When they check and they say, oh, they're bashing Robert Malone day after day after day, even if they don't really believe that these accounts are real, it will have an impact. This is really the new warfare that is shaping minds. and that no doubt led to all these people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk.
So the most profound insights I had relating to this came after a Tim Pool podcast. Tim Pool lives within driving distance of where my farm is. So I drove up by Point of Rocks, where I used to have another farm years ago, and did a hit with Tim Pool talking about Maha. And afterwards, we sat around in his little upstairs green room above his skating rink, and he's all about skateboarding. And we talked about what was going on in this space with synthetic counts and everything. And here's the punchline from all of this. The short version is that if you are interacting in modern media, everything that you are encountering, quite literally, is being shaped. We talk about things like small rooming or shadow banning. That's just looking at it from the perspective of somebody experiencing it. If you step back and look at it from the outside, what's happening is algorithmically, all information that you're encountering is being controlled with the goal of fostering among, interaction, engagement, but also fostering a emotional state inside of you, a belief system based on what you're encountering or what's being presented to you, and shaping everything that you're thinking and feeling and believing. That's the goal, is total information control, and beyond that, total behavioral and emotional control. And I know this directly because I had a client that was years ago developing tech in this space called Behavior Matrix. They got sold out, and a lot of their stuff was for the intelligence community. To illustrate the point, the Arab Spring was not organic. Arab Spring, with all of those color revolutions, that was actively generated using social media largely by our intelligence community, which of course includes USAID. Facebook and Twitter were expressly developed as psychological warfare tools. What we've been encountering is anybody that's interacting, particularly on social media, is now swimming in a stew of manipulated information that increasingly is being algorithmically targeted at you based on your virtual avatar. This is a whole nother part of the book, talks about surveillance capitalism. So all of this stuff of your car reports on you, your bank reports on you, you sign up for that little discount card at the grocery store, all that information is going into a database. Everything about you is being monitored, captured, cataloged, and used to build a behavioral profile, which they call behavioral futures, that are then sold. And that becomes that portfolio of who you are in your digital footprint, which is, increasingly refined. It is literally an avatar, a digital avatar, is used as the input material for artificial intelligence that then processes the decisions about what information gets pushed towards you. And that can be done. We all experience it in Amazon, that has this peculiar ability to anticipate what it is you want to buy before you're even fully cognizant of it. But that's just one example. So the information space you are in is being actively managed and manipulated for political purposes, economic purposes, lobbying purposes, whatever you want to call it, marketing, and it's increasingly sophisticated because of AI capabilities that allow increasingly personal targeting. And one of the tools in that portfolio of modern psychological warfare capabilities, this is a suite of technologies developed significantly. I mean, it's existed since Sun Tzu and the Art of War, but has really been taken to another level by the 77th Brigade in the UK and the American Psy-War divisions of the US Army. And that suite was developed ostensibly to be deployed against these fourth generation warfare insurgencies like the Taliban and Al Qaeda that have, we all saw Vietnam War, those of us that are old enough. We lost the Vietnam War, and we lost the Vietnam War to a local guerrilla insurgency that was able to use communications and irregular tactics, decentralized warfare tactics, to stymie the massive U.S. military. And likewise, the Taliban in Afghanistan. I mean, you can't call that anything other than a defeat. So DOD and British DOD, together with the other Five Eyes nations, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and their intelligence cooperative, have developed this suite of tools for offshore combat and then decided that it was appropriate to deploy them against their own citizens. And I've run into multiple retired colonels, lieutenant colonels, et cetera, from Psy-War divisions that are mad as hell, frankly, that the tech that they helped create for offshore combat, they know is being deployed against civilians domestically by their own government. And increasingly, that suite of technology that comes from kind of the merger of military propaganda and marketing. Explicitly, the 77th Brigade, as we talked in the book, was developed by the British government by recruiting people from the British advertising agencies as well as from academia and from the military. So that suite of tech has now gone big. It's what's being used to sway elections. It's been demonstrated to that Google can and does sway undecided voters by about 20 points by electing to present them with various, this information and not that information. And the owners of Google are liberal. They're progressives. And they basically believe in a socialist future, one in which there is a special caste of, it's akin to Animal Farm. All animals are created equal, but some are more equal than others. That's kind of the ethos of the Silicon Valley tech bros right now. And they have enormous money, enormous power, and enormous influence, and it's getting stronger. So what you're subjected to on a daily basis is a brew of some authentic content and a lot of synthetic content. And now with AI, what's happened with natural language processing is that the commercial bots, and you don't have to have an array of cell phones anymore. You can do it all virtually from your laptop, and generate all these bots that are powered by AI to interact in ways that seem genuine. The movie Her, it's now advanced to the point where you have Zuckerberg talking about you're not going to need any real friends anymore. You're going to have virtual friends through Facebook. That's just a slightly, it's like he said the quiet part out loud. But these bots are increasingly sophisticated. You can no longer rely on just blocking and deleting them because they're low complexity. Recently founded, very few followers, et cetera. Those kind of characteristics used to make it easy to pick out the bots and get rid of them, like fleas on a dog. But now they are insidious. They have the ability to communicate as if they are really humans. And that ability is targeted at your profile. So they are sit around um, uh, and build up followings by saying things that seem genuine, and then are deployed. So one of the things that Tim Pool shared with me as an example, and I'm going to say some things that probably will piss some people off. Candace Owens, unfortunately, and I considered Candace Owens a friend. Supported her, went to the premiere, was invited, and went to the premiere of her movie about Black Lives Matter. But in my opinion, she went off the rails over the Israeli conflict. And I don't want to go any further into that, because that is an example of two of the most highly developed cyber battle units in the world going head to head. And it makes it so that you can't rely on anything that's coming out of there as being anything other than propaganda, in my opinion. But Candace, at one point, started posting, relatively innocuous statements against Israel, questioning the ethics of what Israel was doing. And she got a remarkable amount of likes and follows and social media engagement. And so Tim's point was that in response to that, she posted more things. And this is one of the risks of modern being an influencer in the modern social media environment, is if you're not coming from a place of genuineness, but rather from a place of seeking to improve your position as an influencer, you make yourself susceptible to various types of manipulation. And according to Tim, Candace fell right into that trap, because a large fraction of those likes and follows and engagement were synthetic. They were artificial, and they were intended to drive Candace into the position where she's at right now, which then resulted in her basically being delegitimized, and no longer welcomed at her former broadcast home, et cetera, because under the influence of these synthetic accounts egging her on to more radical positions, she ended up taking positions that I hope in retrospect she regrets, but we're so far out of the Overton window, let's say, as to result in her losing her ability to be effective as an influencer in many ways. So this is all Tim Pool. I challenged him on why he wasn't more forthcoming regarding the mRNA products in COVID. And his point, he's quite firm in this, was that if he had spoken out, he would have been deplatformed, just like I was deplatformed. And then the good that he could do through his influence would be lost. And so he made a tactical decision to not go there, in order to maintain his ability to influence in a positive way the course of events. And this is what we all face now, those that are in this battle space, because that's what it is information battle space, is where do you draw the line in terms of your voice? I had innocent memes in our meme roundup on Friday and Sunday a few weeks ago, around the time when the CDC got shot up, that one had an image of a revolver cartridge open, and it had 5 out of 6 of the chambers empty, and one had a bullet in it, and it had the meme message of 5 out of 6 scientists agree that Russian roulette is safe. It's a metaphor for random chance with severe outcomes. But Senator Blumenthal used that to attack me and claimed that and he wrote directly to Secretary Kennedy that I should be fired from the ACIP for posting this the morning before the CDC shooter attacked the CDC. And then the following Sunday, innocently, we posted two memes that were responses to Elizabeth Warren's tongue-in-cheek statement that if you need 20 rounds to hunt, then you're not a very good hunter. And that was also weaponized against me by Senator Blumenthal repeatedly and asserted that this was evidence of me promoting violence against scientists. This went down 2 days ago in the Senate. And fortunately, Senator Johnson had arranged that I would be able to respond to this defamation. And that little video clip went relatively viral. So that went okay. But not everybody has the opportunity to do that. So this is the environment we're in which people, for their own purposes, will weaponize all kinds of stuff and will intentionally manipulate, as I'm saying again, coming back to the core message. The goal in fifth generation warfare is to control, in modern marketing and propaganda, is to control all information that you encounter and your thoughts and beliefs and emotions. And the tech is based on modern psychology and employs things like neurolinguistic programming in order to shape and craft what you're thinking and believing. And if you're honest with yourself, you will acknowledge and recognize that these people that you think are your friends or associates on social media, a large fraction of them are fake. And that makes it so that you can't really tell who's real and who isn't, who's friend and who's foe, which, by the way, if you follow Matthias Desmet, is one of the preconditions, social fracturing and isolation, to the ability for totalitarianism and authoritarianism to creep into your life and is actively used. This is intentional to socially isolate you. And furthermore, governments now have decided that it's acceptable to deploy this tech against their own citizenry. We see that rampant in the UK and European Union now, and Canada. It surrounds us. And there is, it is, I hate this, particularly in the period now after Charlie Kirk. I'm really uncomfortable talking about warfare as a metaphor. And the book, of course, is about psychological warfare. But we are in a war for our souls and for our beliefs. And if your beliefs do not fit mainstream narratives and you have any kind of influence, you will be subjected to increasingly algorithmic attacks, many of which are synthetic. And so you're in an environment where everything, I refer to this as being a surrealistic landscape in which everything is morphing and fluid. And this is part of the logic that truth is subjective. What matters is feelings, emotions, because that's what's being manipulated is your emotions, your feelings. And this logic that is promoted by the furries and by those that have grown up on virtual gaming, that and obviously the transsexual movement, that the only truth is what you feel. That the truth is subjective, it's individual. That logic sets you up for easy manipulation. It becomes trivial. If what you feel is what's true, is the structure of your reality, and what you feel can be readily manipulated through psychological modern psychological methodology, then there is no truth. There is no reality. It's whatever those that are pulling the levers behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz want you to think, feel, believe is truth.
Wow.
That's where this goes.
This is not the direction I thought the conversation would go in, Dr. Millen, but this has been very revelatory. Appreciate your thought provoking takes here. And yeah, as you say, let's say you're on Twitter, the people liking your post, which encourage you to do more of that, the troll in your community who is really trying to change the conversation. These might be fake. These might be assets of some government somewhere. It's really a bizarre world that people think, oh, I know what's real. I'm immune to these emotions, but you might be discouraged. Like one of the things is you might be discouraged because you see all these people talking about this particular thing in your community. You might yourself get discouraged and not want to engage with it anymore, and that is a win.
Absolutely. And and another thing is the splintering or fractioning of various movements. That's the old story, divide and conquer. And it is used all the time. It's one of the core tactics.
So this has been Dr. Robert Malone. We'll link to his Substack, his excellent book, War, his Twitter profile, all the rest. And Dr. Malone, really appreciate your time here, your thoughts, your final thoughts.
So I hate to leave a podcast on a sour note and on a depressive note.
That's okay.
So here's a thought. And, I hope that you, the listener, are grieving as I am at this moment. Again, to reiterate, I believe there's a very high probability, it's a strong hypothesis, that what appears to have been a very professional assassination of my friend Charlie Kirk, a great American that I think was presidential caliber material as a leader, that it's easy to become despondent, to disengage, and to get depressed. That may be, if there is a malicious actor behind this and it's not a lone wolf, then that may be part of the goal. If you'll reel back in time and remember the words of Matthias Desmet regarding mass formation or the formation of crowds, the key here in enabling totalitarian and authoritarianism to creep into your life and structure everything around you is that it thrives on isolation. And it will intentionally, those forces, whoever it is behind those, governments, political actors, whatever, they will intentionally foster these conditions that isolate you. So what's the proper response? Don't be isolated. Seek community, whether you're a person of faith, participating in church activities, embedded in your own community. Don't just live virtually. Live physically. Interact with people in the physical sphere. Don't stay holed up in your frightened basement or apartment or whatever, just commuting back and forth to work. Get out there and engage with people, including people that you disagree with. Learn to take pleasure in the real world. Don't allow the virtual world to consume you. I'm here on a horse farm that my wife and I quite literally homesteaded over the last 8 years after we lost everything in the Great Recession in real estate down in North Georgia. We've just scratched and clawed our way back through hard labor, perseverance, day after day after day. You can do that too. If you want to live this kind of rural lifestyle, it's achievable, but it's not easy. You have to work for it. In terms of these folks that feel that they shouldn't speak out because they will lose their job, or they have debts and all of that logic. All I can say is I appreciate that you feel the need to compromise, but every time you make a compromise, you sell a little part of your soul. You just destroy it. And when I can tell you, as somebody now on the north side of 65 years old, you can come to this place in your life as an elder where you've compromised so many times that there isn't a whole lot left of your soul. Or you can stand proud and true and strong and take the hits they throw at you. The metaphor there is the Matrix. Be like Neo. Don't take it. Parry it. You'll take some hits, as I have. But if you stay agile and committed to a life of work, of productive work, you'll recover. There's lots of different ways to make a living. And sometimes hardship can create opportunity. That we, on the advice of Steve Kirsch, we pivoted from a destroyed, decades-long consulting business in biotech and regulatory affairs and clinical research to becoming authors, putting out books and putting out Substack on a daily basis, which is, I got to write that essay today. And now my wife and I are free in ways that we've never been free before. We have this incredible opportunity to impact on public policy. We are impacting on public policy on a daily basis at 65. That is an amazing thing. So don't despair. Have faith, build community, invest in yourself, work hard, and stay true to your own soul. And I think that when you get to be an old gray hair, cranky fart like me, you may thank me for that advice to protect your soul and have faith in what it tells you. It may be the only thing left that you can rely on to guide you to true north, to recognize what's true, what's false, what's good, what's bad. That comes out of something that is beyond a cognitive mind, something that science can't measure. So that's I've got now I'm being pestered, and thank you for listening, and I hope that you find that helpful.
Hey, thanks for listening. I could really use your help real quick. If you could share this episode with someone, engage with me, leave a review anywhere. This helps me to break the technocratic shadow banning that is happening with my brand. And of course, if you really want to escape the technocracy, go to escapethetechnocracy.com. Privacy tutorial series, books, newsletters, consulting, and of course, you can leave a donation. Thank you very much.